Welcome to the Big Play Cleveland Show. I'm Gabriella Cruz alongside Chris McNeil, Nick Padone. Plenty of Cleveland sports talk to get into today, fellas. We'll do some evaluating of the Browns draft. The Cavs are staying hot, 3-0 over Miami. A chance as we're shooting this to sweep the Heat. And it's great to see Evan Mobley get Defensive Player of the Year. We'll get into all of our headlines, including Guardians baseball. But to kick things off, Nick has got these Muni Lot Kids cards. This was all a brainchild of McNeil's doing on X, and let's see them in real life here.
So we did a segment of this on the show a couple weeks ago. Obviously, this took the internet by storm, but we got the real Muni Lot Kids cards are in. You could go get your own set on greenysportscards.com. Obviously, a big chunk of the proceeds to these bad boys going to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. Everybody remembers the Garbage Pail Kids. This is a ripoff of that. This is the characters that you would see in the Muni Lot, all in one big card pack. Obviously, Chris revealed our cards on the show, so we got the official sports Gab. We got my card here as well, our producer Ryan. And after this weekend, I think the highly coveted Laser Eyes Andrew Barry got Shedeur Sanders with a fifth round draft pick. Obviously replaced Nick Chubb with Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and got Jacksonville's first round pick next year. It was a great draft for the Browns. It was a great weekend in Cleveland, and the most sought after, at least in my opinion, Muni Lot kid is going to be the Laser Eyes Andrew Barry.
You've got kind of a funny tidbit from your Greeny Sports Cards convention, right?
Yeah, so we were hanging out at the Independence Fieldhouse. I was doing my radio show there, and Hayden Grove, friend of show, we've had Hayden on a bunch of times here to talk about Cleveland sports. Obviously,
had a bone to pick with us.
Was just on the called out Chris McNeil to start the interview, was not very happy with our guy Chris, and said that he spent more time in the Muni Lot than all of us combined, than everybody in this pack with his old job at cleveland.com. Obviously now Hayden, a big time musician after his successful appearance on The Voice. Right. So Chris, the power of big play, the power of, I guess, Hayden calling us out on
We gotta hook up our guy Hayden.
Chris, he hooked
came
him
up with the Cleveland Crooner, so he's got his own card. Hayden, you're welcome. I heard your complaints. I took care of it. Enjoy the card.
Woohoo! All right, guys. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with our Cleveland headlines right after this. The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Cleveland headlines, brought to you by Fairway Ford.
Fairway Ford offers complete customization for any vehicle on the lot with their Fairway Black Label line. This series features custom upgrades like premium wheel and tire packages, a wide variety of level or lift kits, performance enhancements, and fully customized interior options. And every Fairway Black Label truck comes with a Rhino spray-in bed liner. Whether you're looking for an aggressive off-road stance, a bold street presence, or a one-of-a-kind build, Fairway Black Label delivers. As a bonus, many of these upgrades can be financed for as little as 0% APR, depending on the vehicle line. You dream it, they can build it. Visit fairwayfordohio.com to explore their current Black Label inventory or give them a call to start designing yours today.
I'm excited to talk about the Cavs because they've just been so much fun to cover, and it's crunch time, guys. How about Game 3 being the biggest playoff loss in Miami Heat history? And just watching us get our flowers a little bit. Defensive Player of the Year to our Evan Mobley. What have you guys felt watching these games?
It's felt good, not only having that momentum at home, but also taking it on the road there against Miami. Now, as we tape it right now, it's not Monday night. You got the Monday night game, but I expect us to continue with this momentum that we've seen so far. It's nice to see that what we've started has translated over into playoffs. We see the starters putting in quality minutes. We see the bench contributing just like we did during the regular season, and that's been great for us. Outside of Darius Garland, he's got some concerns about an injury there. Outside of that, this team is healthy. They're rolling, and I continue to impress me, and I think impress a lot of people around the league with what we've got rolling out there.
And I think they showed, Chris, when that Darius Garland news dropped right before Game 3, I think everybody in Cleveland's heart kind of skipped a beat just because that's what we do here in Cleveland. And it was like, don't let Miami back into this series now that this thing has flipped to South Beach. And yeah, the Cavs proved that even without Darius Garland, the Miami Heat don't belong on the same floor as the Cleveland Cavaliers. 1 seed in the East for a reason. The Heat were a play-in team that kind of hung on to the coattails of Linsanity run there in the NBA play-in tournament. Cavs are far and away the better team. Hopefully they could discard of the Heat early this week, and we could get ready for whoever it will be in round 2.
And we've just got such great leadership on this team. It was really cool to see Donovan Mitchell talk about how fun it was to have the entire Guardians team at Game 2. We had Browns players in the house. He had an outstanding quote. And if producer Ryan, if we have enough time, I'll shoot you a 1-minute video we can lay into this episode. But it's really awesome to see all of this Cleveland camaraderie. Speaking of those Browns players who were at the Cavs game, Browns, guys, let's skip ahead here. We'll talk guards last, but maybe some initial thoughts from the draft or what you would grade our draft?
Well, the initial thoughts were when passed on Travis Hunter there at the beginning, I was like, what are we doing here? I understand trading down. I understand getting extra picks, getting those assets. Because this is a team, quite frankly, and we've talked about it here, we've got a lot of holes. But we also know we're the ones making the picks, right? And those haven't always turned out very well. But all in all, after you look back at it, outside of, I think, one Dylan Gabriel that I'm questioning a little bit, I felt pretty good about this draft overall for Andrew Berry, for the Browns, and about our future now. I feel a lot better about the Browns as we sit here now than I did this time last week.
Well, it's an A-plus draft for Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns. You know, I think if you were to tell somebody that they walked out of this thing with Shedeur Sanders and Mason Graham, they would have been like, that's awesome. Oh, yeah, and we have Jacksonville's first-round pick next year. That's really good. It's an A-plus with the asterisk being Dylan Gabriel. I don't know what to make out of the Dylan Gabriel pick. It didn't make any sense Friday night when they drafted him. It certainly didn't make any sense on Saturday once they added Shedeur Sanders. It is what it is. That's how these drafts go. Things change throughout as players continue to slide. And it'll be an interesting offseason for us now to monitor how this QB room shapes.
You're pretty plugged in. There's word on the street this was a Kevin Stefanski pick for Dylan Gabriel. Do you think that's the case? He fits his system, supposedly. That's going to work out well long-term for us. Was this Stefanski kind of pulling the trigger on this?
Well, it sure seemed that Kevin Stefanski was excited about this pick, and we all saw the clip going out around online that maybe they weren't as excited about Shedeur Sanders. I really think they both were Stefanski picks. But they definitely like Dylan Gabriel. They think that this is a guy that fits the offense. It'll be fascinating because obviously he's a guy that has a lot of the traits that Baker Mayfield had. And if you remember, Kevin Stefanski despised Baker Mayfield. He's undersized. He has a less than average arm. The fact that he's left-handed will provide some challenges for the offensive line, as now Jack Conklin will technically become the left tackle, since that will be Dylan Gabriel's blind side. So a lot of the traits that the Browns hated in Baker Mayfield, they now magically love in Dylan Gabriel. We'll have to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, who knows? And McNeil, we appreciated your little meme about bringing back his interview about weather.
Yeah, he enjoys playing in the sun and really enjoys warm weather. So welcome to Cleveland, Ohio. You won't see much of it.
Yeah, this will be interesting, guys. To your point, I was a little confused. I was going to some film and just watching this guy over. And 5'11", they're probably cheating his size already, at 5'11".
Right. Yeah.
And at the National Football League, I'm just curious to see how this pans out.
And he'll turn 25 before the end of his rookie year is over. So it's a little less extreme than the Brandon Weeden thing, but it's another older rookie quarterback that I'd imagine they would probably like to find out what they have in him at some point soon. Not to mention Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett still exist too.
Lots to look forward to here, Browns fans. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Garage Beer featured interview. Garage Beer is the perfect beer for any occasion. It's small batch, no frills, no bitterness. It's just beer that tastes like beer. The garage is always open with Garage Beer. We're bringing on a very special guest today, beat reporter and host for DNVR Buffs, Jake Schwanitz. And, Jake, welcome on. We know you're so close to covering the Colorado Buffaloes football program. We really want to know, as Cleveland fans, since you're so close to the action, what are we really getting with Shedeur Sanders?
Oh man, you're getting a great dude, man. A great quarterback, a great leader. The last 2 years, this guy, I mean, kind of single-handedly. I wouldn't say single-handedly. I mean, he did have Coach Prime and Travis Hunter, but Shedeur Sanders was the driving force for the rebuild that happened at Colorado the last 2 years. He's a very accurate quarterback. He's a great leader. I mean, his teammates and coaches just constantly rave about him. And he's cool under pressure. I think that's one of the things that really got him forward these last 2 years and really elevated this program because obviously Colorado struggled in a lot of aspects football wise. They were trying to flip the roster the last 2 seasons. The offensive line wasn't great. And Shador just consistently stayed cool under pressure. Better in 24 than 23. 23, he can't even finish the season because of a back injury. But in 2024, he really helped bring this program back to where it belonged.
How surprised, Jake, were you by Shedeur Sanders' draft day slide and really something that became the story of the draft throughout the entire weekend? Where'd you think he was going to go before this thing started? And then obviously now we find out 5th round pick to our Cleveland Browns. It was a bizarre weekend.
That was completely shocking to me. It was, I've never seen anything like that when it comes to the NFL draft. You talk about quarterbacks, especially in the NFL, the premium we put on that position, how desperate some teams get to find a franchise quarterback. And the fact that Shador slipped to the 5th round for what seemed like everything but football reasons, that was completely shocking to me. It seemed like a character assassination on Shador Sanders the last few weeks. The type of guy that, we hung out with, that we heard about at Colorado, it just doesn't match up to what the NFL is trying to sell everyone right now. I thought he'd be a potential 1st round draft pick. I thought he was in play for the Giants at 3. I thought he was in play for Cleveland at 2 overall. Worst case scenario, if he went in the 2nd round and you were going to tell me it was football reasons, fine, whatever. But 5th round was egregious, man. That was crazy.
The rumors around the NFL right now are that Shedeur, for whatever reason, did not perform very well in his interviews with teams. A lot of people pointing to the Giants and the fact that they gave him some things to study. He clearly didn't study them, and so they were turned off. Have you heard any of these, and what are your insights when it comes to what he did on the interview circuit?
This whole thing has been confusing to me, to be completely honest. Shedeur Sanders was a pro at Colorado. He worked his ass off. His teammates loved him. His coaches loved him. They constantly raved about it. Players came to Colorado, recruits, transfers to play with Shedeur. Jordan Seaton, the 5-star offensive lineman, 2 recruiting classes ago, he's at Colorado right now because of Shedeur Sanders. LaJohntay Wester, who went in the 6th round to the Baltimore Ravens, he was at Colorado because of Shedeur Sanders. Travis Hunter was at Colorado because of Shedeur Sanders. All these people. So it was it was very interesting to me to see how the NFL approached this. But with Shedeur, he's a different person. Obviously, he's Deion Sanders' son first and foremost. Um, he doesn't have a Deion Sanders personality. He's closer to his older brother, Deion Jr. I'd say Shiloh's way closer to Deion's personality than Shedeur is. Shador's really chill, and I think that when you initially meet him, and we had this too the first time we had him on our show, the Pac-12 Media Day 2023. You can go look it up on YouTube if you wanted to. He's just super chill. He's super confident in himself, super chill, and I could totally see how that could be seen as off-putting. How others could say that it's arrogance and all this stuff. He's super confident, super relaxed. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. This is part of what makes him a great quarterback. And so I think he was greatly misrepresented when it comes to his character and how he performs in interviews.
From your days of covering him, do you have any interesting stories of Shedeur Sanders? Anything he did either on the field or off the field with you in the media that you saw that you said, this guy's a little bit different?
Oh man, I'll tell you 2 stories. So this is before TCU in 2023. Obviously everything's brand new. We don't know what it's really going to look like, right? Like we've heard about the name brands, Travis, Shedeur, Dion, all that stuff. They're coming in, and we're getting ready for this TCU game, and they're 23.5 point underdogs in that game going into Fort Worth. And I remember we spoke to Shedeur. I can't remember exactly what happened, but we were in the building for media or whatever. Um, And me and my co-host RK Ryan Konigsberg, we got a little bit of free time with Shedeur, and we started talking to him about TCU, and he's telling us about how he's watching film, and he's like, if they play man, it's over. I've got too much time to prepare for this game, all this stuff. The game happens. Obviously, Colorado pulls off a massive upset, one of the biggest, in college football the last few seasons. Um, Shedeur, we're in the press conference. Shedeur does his whole thing. Coach does his whole thing, and Shedeur gets up, and he sees me. He sees me like across the press conference room, and he points at me and he goes, "You remember what I told you?" And it's what I just told you. He had too much time. He had too much time to prepare for this team. He knew what they were going to do on that football field. So that was cool. Another one
That's an
just about
all-timer right
Shedeur.
there.
Another one about just Shedeur, though. This was at the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So it wasn't this last season, it was the year before that. And Shedeur was still big time, right? He wasn't, the biggest story that he was this last year, but Shedeur's going around the outside, hitting overtime, hitting just all the big, podcasts and stuff. And, we're going up there because we knew that he was probably going to be out there. We were out there, and, we were just going to try and like say what's up, see if we can ask him to be on our show. And we walk up to the side. He sees us, and he looks and points straight at us and goes, "We're definitely going to y'all." And so he comes on our set, does the whole show again. That's the 2020 four Super Bowl, if you want to look that one up. So yeah, man, he's a great kid.
Obviously, Jake, now on the field, the Browns added 4 quarterbacks over the last few months. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett were here before the NFL draft. They drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, which I think everybody's still kind of scratching their heads about here in Cleveland. Just didn't make any sense when it happened, and then it doubly didn't make any sense when they drafted Shedeur Sanders. How do you think Shedeur stacks up against the other QBs in the room for Cleveland?
He's the best quarterback on the team, in my opinion now. I could totally see, going with Joe Flacco as someone who has been there, has familiarity, is a veteran if you want to start the season off that way. I fully expect Shedeur to beat out Kenny Pickett if he makes this roster at all. That's not a question in my mind. I fully expect him to beat Dylan Gabriel. I mean, honestly, turn on the tape the last 2 years, guys. That's all I got to say. Shedeur was one of, if not the best quarterback in college football since he was at Colorado. He was just greatly misrepresented when it comes to character. It's honestly frustrating the last 2 years to see how he was treated. You guys are going to start to experience this and see exactly what goes on. There's a lot of nonsense that happens when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. A lot of words put in his mouth, a lot of things thrown on him that he's not responsible for or didn't do. So he's the best quarterback on the team. I expect him to be your starter week 1.
Jake, real quick, McNeil. Jake, you've called it a misrepresentation of sorts. How much, knowing Shedeur and being able to cover him, do you think that he's going to be able to use all of this as a reason to springboard into potential greatness?
The NFL, what they did over the weekend, as if Shedeur needed any more motivation to be great, that fire is raging in his chest, I can tell you right now. He is a competitor. I mean, he's Deion Sanders' son. Like people, it's hard to, sometimes people just forget that, like that fact. He's ultra competitive already. He already sees himself, I think, as one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class. And this is probably a very different experience for him. It probably did humble him, which is something that I'm sure some people wanted to see, the NFL and people on the outside included. But he's just cool, calm, collected under pressure. He's ultra competitive. And what happened to him this last weekend, it's only going to do great things for him in the future.
You mentioned he's Deion's son. I think the big question around here is how involved do you think Deion's going to be in his career? What can we expect here in Cleveland with Deion Sanders?
Look, guys, this is a father and son we're talking about. Again, you can't forget that. Like, there's deep feelings, obviously, between the two, and they're going to protect each other. And I think a lot of people honestly don't like to see that. A lot of what happened at Colorado over the last 2 years, I think, was based in that. This team and this family were under attack constantly. I mean, hit pieces, words put in their mouth, just people coming at them, saying things that they actually didn't say. A lot of that stuff. So in terms of Coach Prime, look, he is focused on the Buffs. I think he's proven a point when he signed this contract extension at Colorado a few months ago that, he wants to, I think, prove that he can coach and do it at a high level without Shador and without Shiloh and without Travis. And remember, this is Deion Sanders we're talking about. He's ultra competitive. He's, has a legacy that he wants to cement and all. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'd be any different than, what Archie Manning did for Eli Manning, what he did for Peyton Manning. I mean, again, it's his son. He's a dad. He's going to be protective over him. If something happens that is wrong, I'd expect him to say something. But in terms of like meddling with, the depth chart or like, criticizing the coaches, the GM, I would be very surprised if we see a lot of that from Coach Prime.
Jake Schwanitz, beat reporter and host for DNVR Buffs. We really appreciate your time and insights. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Bringing the Heat segment with Jensen Lewis, presented by our friends over at Northeast Factory Direct. Nick Padone here for Northeast Factory Direct, and I want you guys to imagine walking into a brand new kitchen, modern, functional, and absolutely beautiful without any stress, any delays, or sky-high prices. That's what Northeast Factory Direct delivers. They could get you guys a brand new kitchen, everything from cabinets, appliances, new floors. Northeast Factory Direct can truly do it all. They have an experienced team of designers who will make the whole process easy for you from start to finish. They'll guide you through the selection, show you exactly what it'll look like with their free 3D design service. You could actually see what the kitchen would look like in your home before they even get started. Here's what you got to do. Book an appointment, bring in the basic measurements of your space, and see your dream kitchen come to life in real time. Call the nearest location or visit northeastfactorydirect.com to book that free design consultation. And make sure to ask for that extra special Big Play bonus. It does apply to your kitchens as well. Make sure to check them out. northeastfactorydirect.com. Jensen, it was a complete 500 homestand for our guards up to this point. 3-3 against the Yankees and the Red Sox last week. What did you see out of the Guardians in those series? Are we feeling better? Or are we feeling worse about this team as we're trying to navigate the last couple of days of overreaction month?
Right. And I think that's kind of where you are now with just the homestand in of itself is, you go for ultimately the sweep against a Yankee team that they actually played pretty well. They were fundamentally sound and able to execute in late game scoring situations. I'm not sure if the rain out really kind of put them off kilter or off schedule a bit, but boy, those last couple of games, the Red Sox series, quite ugly and uncharacteristic. So you finish it up with Minnesota and then head north of the border on the road against Toronto and then to the nation's capital. And 3 upcoming opponents that the Guardians should be able to handle, particularly the Minnesota Twins as well.
Jensen, I've been a little worried about our rotation here. The rotation has only logged 3 quality starts this season. Do you think this is a concern or a product of early season load management? Because according to this, it's like we've only got a starter with an ERA. We don't have a starter with an ERA under 4.15. To me, every game I'm at, I'm just expecting a little bit more out of our pitching. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you'd hope, Gab, right? And because when you look at ultimately where the marathon of the season is, and also with what the bullpen had to handle from a workload standpoint last year, the rotation is going to have to come up big and probably sooner than later. You want length at this point in the season as much as you possibly can, because at some point, you'll lean on that pen, having to try and get you through some shorter starts. But overall, I think Gavin Williams has pitched quite well. I mean, you think about just where Tanner is at this point, and you hope it's a bounce back here the next couple of turns through against some offenses that he should handle. And that in of itself sometimes can get you on a roll. Luis Ortiz, there's been good, there's been bad, there's been ugly. Ben Lively has been good in spurts, and then has given up a couple of ugly frames. And, Logan Allen, again, you won't generate the swing and miss as you may with the other power guys. So for me, it's staying out of the big part of the plate, not reinventing the wheel here, guys. But more often than not, it just kind of feels like whatever mistakes the rotation has made, the opposing offenses have taken advantage of them in a big way.
Jensen, is it time to give Austin Hedges some more innings out of the bullpen here?
I don't know if he can crack it. I get it. Hey, the scoreless, frame or being able to punch out a future Hall of Famer and Rafi Devers, really helping the back of the baseball card. But I think ultimately just one of those situations you have to get through. Yes, as a bullpen guy, you never, ever want that to happen. But I kind of humped up right there, that called strike 3. So that was kind of a bright moment in what was just a downright sloppy series finale against the Red Sox.
Jensen, obviously, Angel Martinez just continues to impress. It's a guy that I think all of us were really excited about seeing get up to the big club again. And then ever since he's gotten that call, he's, made it worth everyone's while to keep him up here in Cleveland. What have you seen out of him, especially on this current hitting streak that he's on?
Yeah, it feels like, honestly, Nick, everything is kind of slowed down. And when you've had a couple of bites at the apple now in his tenure up in the big leagues, you learn every single time you're recalled. And for me, selfishly, I would love to see him in the 2 spot. If you've moved Jose Ramirez back, I would love to see the dynamic between Kwan leading off and then the speed and Angel Martinez. Sometimes you just got to go with the guy that's hot. And obviously he is at this point. I would just know as an opposing manager, I can't really match up in back-to-back at bats, knowing that, Angel Martinez can be the switch hitter in front of Jose Ramirez. So anxious to see from a lineup construction standpoint, if he continues to stay consistent and hot, if, Stephen Vogt decides, let's shake it up a little bit, because we know this offense has been struggling to put up big time runs day in and day out. Let's see what happens here at the end of the homestand and perhaps on this road trip.
Jensen, we've got the Minnesota Twins in a 4-game series coming up. The Twins, they haven't been awesome this year, but they have won 5 of their last 6. What should fans really be looking for in this series?
Gabby, traditionally, we've seen Minnesota play well here early in seasons, and particularly Carlos Correa feels like he's been just a Cleveland crusher throughout his career, and that's a guy you got to limit. They have actually been pretty decent offensively. Back into their bullpen has kind of had to go through a couple of ups and downs. Their starting rotation, guys, when you think about it, Minnesota's actually pitched pretty well. They just haven't had the run support day in and day out to be able to put together some series victories. But for whatever reason, you look at the guys that they'll ultimately, the Guardians will face in Bailey Over, Pablo Lopez there for game 3, Chris Paddock game 2. Overall, they've done enough to help their team be in a position to win day in and day out. There's been only a handful of times where they've really got the doors blown off them here. So, again, situationally, Guardians, the more they can get some early leads and force the Twins offense to play some catch up, I think that bodes quite well to at least split the series, if not take 3 out of 4.
Alrighty, it's time for our Northeast Factory direct question of the week. Jensen, the fans want to know, just how good are the Detroit Tigers? They're 18-10 overall, but 18-7 since getting swept by the Dodgers, and it feels like that's the true competition in this American League Central.
I still think there's parity throughout here, Nick, but the thing that jumps off the page is the consistency of their offense, and we knew that pitching-wise. Heck, we saw it in the postseason last year. They returned most of the same guys and some reinforcements from some pitchers that got healthy this offseason. I think the offense with Torkelson, knowing what Riley Green has put together and the added dimensions now that Gleyber Torres brings them atop the lineup. AJ Hinch kind of alluded to it this offseason that they felt better about where they were headed into this year, just with the potential of what their offense could be out of the gates, man. It feels like if you get that pitching staff 3 or more runs, they're a force to be reckoned with. So I'm personally not shocked that they've gotten off to this hot of a start on the mound, but I am a little bit more surprised that the offense has been this potent this early.
Thanks again, Jensen, for bringing the heat on the Big Play Cleveland show, and a big thank you to our friends at Northeast Factory Direct. We'll see you again next week.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
We'll take a break, and we'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Infinity, luxury experiences for those who dare to be different. Visit infinityusa.com today.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland show. It's time for our weekly chat with Ty Dillon. Ty is a NASCAR Cup driver for the number 10 Colleague Racing Chevy. Ty races for your Northeast Ohio's own NASCAR team owner, Matt Colleague. He owns a bunch of NASCAR teams, obviously fields 3 teams in the Xfinity Series, 2 teams in the Cup Series. Ty, appreciate you joining us again this week.
Yeah, man, glad to be back on. I know it's been a busy week for Cleveland sports with the draft and everything, but it was a big week for us in NASCAR being at Talladega. One of the wildest parties to begin with at a racetrack, but also one of the wildest races. So yeah, it's good to be back.
How we feeling coming off Talladega? I know it was a really strong race for you at a track that you're familiar with. Obviously, not the result that we were looking for coming out of it, but really a strong showing throughout. How did Talladega go?
Yeah, I mean, definitely mixed emotions about our race. We were, like you said, strong showing all day, ran up front, kept our C-Best Camaro up front, and that was our goal from the get-go, is just be aggressive and, not worry about being in the crash, but just try to put ourselves up front, and whether we crash or not, make sure everybody knew we were there. And I think we achieved that. We came across the white flag and we were in 7th place, and unfortunately for the 3rd time in 2 races, we ran out of gas. And unfortunately, it was just a mistake on our part as a team, and we'll get better. Hopefully these mistakes go away, and our results that, we've been running good. Our activity during the race has been good. We just got to finish these things out. We've left a lot of points and good finishes on the table, just not executing the last few. And this one was heartbreaking because for those who aren't big NASCAR knowers, the white flag is the last lap of the race. All you got to do is make it back around. And even if there's a caution on the white flag, the field freezes when the crash happens. So we come across the white flag and I run out of gas. Engine stops working in the middle of the pack, running 7th, and so that's another scary thing. So they're blowing by you, and you're out of gas. So that was frustrating for our whole team. But it's hard to be upset because we built a fast race car. We ran up front all day. One little mistake took us out from getting the result that we deserved. But if we continue to do those kind of things, we're going to get these opportunities to be able to capitalize on the finish.
Absolutely. Tell the people a little bit about the mindset. Obviously running, really well throughout the entire race. You're up there in the heat of the mix during the final stages. You're up front, led a lap there as well in the top 10, and then the car runs out of gas. Like, what's the mental, frame like as, things seem to be going so well, and then the car kind of gives out of gas there at the end?
Yeah, we are such a team sport, which people don't really realize. A lot of the driver gets the attention a lot of the times. And you have to kind of compartmentalize those things a little bit. We are a team sport. And then as a driver, it's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself. So personally, I walk away and I feel pretty good about my performance. I feel like I executed the things I showed up to do. We had a situation kind of out of my hands that took away from us, but we're a team. We win and we lose as a team, and that's unfortunate. There's going to be days where I let the guys down, where they execute everything and I made a mistake, and I've done that this year. I did it at Phoenix where I sped on pit road. So as a group, we've got to just clean up a few of these corners. We're a young race team, so to speak. This is our first year working together. And as we grow, hopefully we look at the end of the year and say, okay, we quit making those mistakes and we took strides in the right direction of finishing out these results. So the speed's been there. That's probably the hardest thing to find in this sport, is consistent speed and putting yourself in those situations. So we've got that. Now we just need to capitalize and grow and mature a little bit and make sure we get to the end of these things.
Well, it was a crazy week for all of us. Obviously, the NFL draft here in Cleveland is our Super Bowl every single year, whether the Browns have a first-round pick or not. Obviously, this year they had a first-round pick, number 2 overall. They passed on Travis Hunter when they traded down. But the crazy news of the weekend was when they traded back up into the 5th round for Shedeur Sanders. How close were you monitoring the NFL draft this weekend? And obviously, it's a crazy time to be here in Cleveland, as now our quarterback situation is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I think, myself included, I watched almost every round of the draft. I'm a huge football fan, as we talked about. So it was a shock just to see them not. I had it in a lock in my brain that Travis Hunter's a Cleveland Brown, like that's going to be really cool for the city. Like that's going to be a lot of cool buzz around him. Somebody that everybody wants to show up. And then they trade back to get a defensive tackle who is a great defensive tackle, but he doesn't bring the buzz and the star power of a Travis Hunter. So that I felt a little bummed for the city, but I know they're getting a good football player, and they did a good thing by getting another draft pick in the first round, I think next year from that. But and then you see as it plays out, they take Dylan Gabriel in the third. Which is, I think he's a good player, but I think some people might have felt like it was a little bit of a reach, and then they back it up with Shedeur in the fifth, and it's like immediate controversy in the quarterback room, and whether they get along or not. Like, I know you guys are going to be talking about it all off season, like who's out throwing who, and then you still have Joe Flacco, you still have Kenny Pickett. Like, what are they going to do? It's going to be interesting time in Cleveland, and as a Panthers fan, our draft was interesting too. I was staring down everybody here, so we were getting Jalen Walker at 8, and they kind of shocked everybody. I think the front office was pretty quiet, and they ended up going with Tedrow and McMillan. But you kind of wrap your head around one player, then you get a curveball, and you're like, okay, well then I got to kind of figure out who this guy is. But I think it's going to be good, and they backed it up by getting 2 edge players, which was a big need for the Panthers later on, who I think are good developmental guys. So I know everybody's excited in both the cities and probably all the cities. I don't feel like there was a team in the draft that really had a big blunder, like
Right.
I think there's a couple teams that took a couple chances, maybe like Jacksonville was pretty aggressive there, but I think all the teams are probably feeling like they had a pretty good draft this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I love the Panthers pick of Tet, because I feel like, you load up, you help Bryce Young. He showed so much. He was so promising as a rookie. Like, get that dude, at the end of his rookie year, and then had a decent, bridge to this year. So get that dude some help, and the Panthers hopefully could be better offensively this season. And yeah, you'll get the full taste of it, because I know you're coming up to Cleveland for a Guardians game, and then we got the Colleague Companies golf, championship later this summer. So you'll get the full taste of what a Browns offseason is like, with quarterback camp battles and training camps are sold out. So you'll fully get to immerse yourself here in our Cleveland sports culture. But you don't truly get to experience it until you experience a QB controversy like what we're about to have.
No doubt. It's going to be cool. I feel like just this year being involved with Colleague Racing and their connection to Ohio sports, and then obviously with you guys too, I'm becoming kind of a pseudo Browns fan. And I know, like you're saying, the more things we do, I'm going to be following along closely. So maybe I'll adopt a third team into my world, a second 2.5 team, maybe a 2A, 2B situation with the Seattle Seahawks, because my wife's from Seattle. So got some family ties over there, but it's fun. It's going to be exciting summer. NFL never seems to stop exciting everybody. We were just talking about, like, with all the news, it seems like the Cavaliers NBA run is like almost to the side because of all the draft stuff. NBA rules everything, or NFL rules everything during their time. But no, it's an exciting time out there.
100%. And this is a Browns town, so it'll be cool to get you up here this summer. All right, we got to talk about you, though. This weekend, Texas Motor Speedway. You won this track in the Truck Series super early in your career, 2013. Has led laps in all 3 series at this track in Texas. Go ahead and tell the people what they should be looking out for this weekend.
Yeah, so the track that I raced on, it's the same track, but they've repaved it and they've reconfigured it. So the banking angle isn't exactly the same in both corners anymore. The track that I had won on the Truck Series is a little bit different, but having success at a track always helps. And being able to wear the cowboy hat and shoot the guns there in Victory Lane is always a cool thing there in Texas. But for us, this is actually kind of where the relationship really blossomed, I think, with me and myself in Colleague Racing last year. I think we left here with the 15th or 16th place finish in the race last year. And it was only one of 5 starts that I made with the team. And I felt like we all left there on a really positive energy. And that's led to where we're at today. So coming back, it'll be the first time, I believe, that I'm going to a track for the second time with Colleague Racing. I know it's a new crew chief, kind of a whole new situation, but with a team, it feels good to go back to a place for a second time. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. We always love being in Texas. Great food. I got friends that live out there, so catching up with them, and just always have had a good connection with Texas. And we'll hopefully execute the finish a little bit better this week than we have the last 2 weeks.
For sure. Let's go get a win this week. Make sure to go show Ty Dillon some love on social media. Throw him a follow at Ty Dillon. Follow Colleague Racing as well at Colleague Racing. Ty, best of luck to you this weekend. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Pure AV, luxury home automation. Experience your dream smart home by visiting pureavcorp.com. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Fill in the Blank segment brought to you by Pure AV. They specialize in sales, service, and installation of a variety of smart home technologies. They do it all. They can help you get the perfect sports watching setup with their high-performance audio and video displays. They even offer hidden audio and video options that allow you to keep a clean, elegant interior without sacrificing your favorite technology. Pure AV can set you up with invisible architectural speakers that are hidden in your walls and ceilings, as well as disappearing TVs that vanish behind art or mirrors. Visit pureavcore.com today to see everything that they offer for your home. Filling in the blank, guys. Blank is the Browns rookie that I am most excited about.
Harold Fannin Jr. I'm a big fan, of course, anybody who watches the show, of the MAC, and this guy was the MAC Player of the Year, and I think he's going to be fantastic. We talked about last week how I'm always got a soft spot for tight ends. I liked Kellen Winslow back in the day, but now we've got a great tight end that's already on this team in David Njoku, and I think adding Harold to that room is really going to be good for his development and really ensure some consistency at the tight end position, which we all know Kevin Stefanski really likes his tight ends in his offense.
I'll go with Quinshon Judkins, running back out of Ohio State. Obviously, getting Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round is massive, especially if he becomes the quarterback of the future for this organization. You could have found your Brock Purdy. That's huge. That's the biggest and most important pick in this draft. But don't sleep on Quinshon Judkins. I know a lot of people were wondering, well, why didn't they draft Travion Henderson? He was still there too. You look at Quinshon Judkins, and I had the opportunity to talk to him in Indianapolis. He looks like an AFC North running back. His quad muscles are the size of my hamster, of my entire quad, and my entire head, is his calf, and his quad is just a gigantic dude. I think he's built for this division. And I think that when you look at trying to replace Nick Chubb, it probably takes Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson both. That's how much Nick Chubb meant to this team, this organization. So I'm looking forward to him out of this backfield for years to come.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for Mason Graham and the youth and physicality he'll add to the defensive line. I don't know how fast he'll be starting and whatnot, but I thought it was a mature choice from our Brownies.
Yeah, and Andrew Berry talked about wanting rotation there at the defensive line position, and that'll allow him another nice piece in that rotation of going 6 deep if he needs to, along that line 6 to 8.
Blank different quarterbacks will start for the Browns this season.
Well, we got 5 on the roster right now. I think we're going to have to at least cut 1, maybe 2, maybe try and sneak 1 under the practice team at some point. But I think they're all going to see the field at some point, except for Deshaun Watson aside. I'm going to go with 4. Why not? 4 different quarterbacks are going to see the field in the regular season for the Cleveland Browns this season.
I agree. That's how these things go. You need multiple quarterbacks. I don't think Deshaun will play, but the rest of them will.
The Browns starting quarterback in week 1 will be?
It's going to be Joe Flacco, I think. You're going to go back to the steady hand at the till. The old man is going to come out. He's going to be starting week 1. I don't expect him to start all season, but I do think he's going to start it off for us.
I agree. I think it has to be Joe Flacco, just a cool, calm, collected vet that's won big games in Cleveland before. But it'll be a camp battle. I'm excited, and I like the fact that Kevin Stefanski said, hey, Gabriel will have an opportunity to compete to be the guy week 1. It could be Kenny Pickett. It could be Shedeur. I really think this all boils down to it's either Joe Flacco or Shedeur Sanders as your week 1 starter.
Wow. And what's wild about this QB room, too, is you've got a lot of personalities in there, and all of them are competing for QB1. You're not talking about anybody, even the rookies who are saying, yeah, I'm going to come in, I'm going to learn from these older guys. Every one of them thinks of them as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So it's going to be an interesting offseason.
Yeah, they always are.
The Cavs will beat the Pacers in blank games in the Eastern Conference semis.
I think the Pacers are going to be a little bit of a challenge for the Cavs, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go with a gentleman's sweep. I think we're going to lose 1 game in this one, and we're going to continue to be the wagon we have been. It's the same as we were against the Heat.
I'll go Cavs in 6.
Okay.
Indiana could score, but the one thing is they weren't the number 1 offense in the NBA. That was your Cleveland Cavaliers. It's hard to win games on the road in the postseason. That Gainbridge Fieldhouse is no joke. Indiana basketball, people love their basketball in that state. So I'll give the Pacers 6 games, but the Cavs are going to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
How about blank will be the most important Cavalier in the next playoff series?
I think Donovan Mitchell. I think he's going to step up in this series. I think we're going to see his outside shooting improve. That's kind of what I'm willing to happen in this series. And I think this is the time. This is the time of the year when you get your stars really kicking. And I think Donovan Mitchell knows that. And I think he's ready to answer the bell there.
And I'll go with the guards, both DG and Donovan. Tyrese Halliburton could put up 40 in his sleep. So you're going to have to try to outscore that guy. I think DG and Donovan are the two guys in this Eastern Conference that can do it. So I'll go with both DG and Donovan need to really show up for the Pacers series.
And I'm going to add in that our defensive player of the year has got to bring his best stuff and his aggressiveness. We want to thank again our sponsors, Pure AV. Be sure to check them out at pureavcore.com. Thanks for watching the Big Play Cleveland show. We'll see you next week.